Okay, folks, here is what you're about to see, how it gets painted. Full disclosure, this is more completed than what you'll see at the end of the video, so I want to make sure you saw this because I think this is a little better than what the end is. So yeah, those are all our trees, and this is the result of spinning it out after I flipped the cup. I followed mostly the lines of the mountain. But anyway, stay tuned and you'll see how this happens. All right, so as you can see, I scraped the top painting off. I made a huge mistake. I still like the idea of what I did. The only thing is I got too anxious, and as you saw, I started trying to fix the mountains using wet on wet. And I've come to the conclusion that some of the artists that I've seen where they lay the wet on, I've never been sure if it's dry underneath, and I think I can pretty much say now that in a lot of those cases it was dry underneath because I ruined it. The more I started playing with it, the worse it got. So I was trying to hoping maybe I could fix it, but I decided to abandon all that and just start over. So I've mixed this pretty much the same colors. Um, Added a little bit in it, but I'm going to go ahead and just do a regular flip cup. And I still really like the idea of doing a flip cup and then spinning it and see what happens. So here we go. Basically, the lesson learned with all this is don't get in a hurry. Again. All right, so I'm going to tip this down so you can see what's going on. And I'm going to get a little closer. All righty. And it looks like we're going to be a little patriotic again. Apparently, it is a time to be patriotic. Probably a good thing. I think I really, really like this, just what it's doing already. So go ahead and take that off. And I didn't put near as much in the cup that time because I only have here. Alrighty. So let me hit it with the heat gun. Get those. And once again, helps to plug it in. Alrighty. I'm going to tip this over just a little that way first. Alrighty. You know what's really funny is I'm about getting kind of this, this is the same shape as I did before. So it looks like that's giving me a second chance on this one. And this time, I'm just going to be patient. And unfortunately, I didn't have a big, well, I do have one big canvas that I could have done this over. So I'm not wasting that paint underneath, but I'm saving it for a special project. And also, this has been a long day of painting. I'll wait until I can give it all the attention that I really want. almost completely spread out. A little bit more. And I'm also excited I don't paint is just flying everywhere, which I thought it would at first. All right. Okay. Here we have it. Let's see. If I can get it more under the camera. Without getting paint all over my phone, right? Okay, so here we are. And what I do, like I said, actually, I'm thinking of it like with the mountains, so that would be the sky and this is the mountain. What I think we can do it's pretty funny because that's almost identical to what was in that corner before. Oh, mercy. Yeah, I think I am going to keep it. It's right there. And make this my mountain. Oh, shoot. Which can we see? All right, well, I'm going to let that sit for a little bit and we'll show you what happens next. Thanks for hanging. Okay, I was looking at it and since that green was showing up from the back, let me turn it so you can see a little better. I decided I want to stretch that out so it's like trees on a mountainside. So what I'll do, so you can see what's happening, we'll stretch it out just a little bit more. So you can have, oh, it reminds me of Colorado. All right, I don't think I want to do any more of that. As much as I like that color there, unfortunately, I will move it off the side, see if I can move a little more. Maybe. Sounds like earthquake. Okay. All right, now then, I am going to leave that to dry. doing too much because too much just don't work. I do want to. This is something I've done, and I typically have good luck with it. I just want to do so sure where my mountains. I'm going to come here. Yeah, make this the second peak. All righty. Quick, I can get more green. So I think we've got it for now. And this time, as long as that fly doesn't land in anything, I am going to let this dry, and then we'll be back and do some more. Okay, we're back. It's all dry. And now I want to do just a few finishing touches to our little mountain scene. There was, like how the green showed up down in here, there was a lot of little spots on top, and I pretty much got them covered. I'm going to do a little bit more, and then I want to do kind of a wash of blue up here to really emphasize the sky, not near as dark as the mountains here, but just get it so it looks like a little more definitive. So we've got mountains here, and then I kind of want to define some of the areas where the trees are, just add to some of that, and then we'll see if it's about done. So here we go. Okay, I want to start out with just a few spots here again for the white, just to make it a little nicer. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but I think it just looks better if there isn't a lot of spots in there to make it look a little more sadder than it needs to. Okay. Some of these blue. I just want to do the blue wash over that green. I think I'm more interested in fixing these spots where the green's showing up randomly in other places. So may, by the time all is said and done, may give kind of a Northern Lights vibe, which I think will be super fun. Get some of this magenta in here. almost ready to I keep thinking I'm ready for the next part, and I see something I want to fix. I'm hoping that when I do the wash over it, it'll smooth out all these. Otherwise, I will be coming up with a whole different plan, which will not be hard to do. I'll blend these colors more with the white. Okay. Particularly, at first I thought I was just going to fill in the little holes, and then some areas that it was more green than I wanted. Okay. That part is not making me happy. So what I want to do, and this isn't live, so you can't just tell me, I would like to know where people are from that are watching this, if there's somebody that I know, um, or just somebody that I'm hopefully getting to know. So if you could just, leave a comment about who you are, and if this is something that you're working on learning to do or just interested, and where you live. I've lived in a variety of places, and it's always fun to meet somebody who's lived somewhere I've lived. It's fun because every once in a while at work I get to run into somebody that's been in one of the other states that I've lived in. So just drop a comment. And also, I don't know if somebody has, and I just don't know where to get the messages. If you have any prayer requests, anything that like life, and you have a bum rap for a little bit, somebody you know is having a bum rap in life, because unfortunately that happens, doesn't it? Okay, now then. Oh, shoot. That I keep. Oh, any darts showing up over here? Get this. I think this whole side right here is just going to be darker, which I'm okay with. Just want this side to look. Look like it all belongs, right? That you don't have to throw a frame on it for it to look decent. How about the finishing work? Actually, it's funny talking about doing the work. I think if any of you saw a video I did several weeks ago, and discussed verse, I think it's in John, maybe Matthew, where Jesus is telling them, why worry? The birds of the air, they're worth a lot to Jesus, but not near as much as we humans are, and yet they don't have to worry about what they'll have to eat. And they don't store up their food in barns. I was walking around my pond the other night, and there's a bunch of geese and ducks, and I was watching them, and they were just all eating like crazy. And it occurred to me that Jesus tells us not to worry, but he doesn't tell us not to work. Because as I was watching those ducks and geese eating, it's like they were in business. They were digging to get everything they wanted. They didn't just, it wasn't like somebody put a plate. It wasn't like when people are, there are people sometimes that will throw out food or discourage from doing that because you don't want to get them sick with feeding them the wrong thing. But it's like I noticed how busy they were and how active they were with eating. It wasn't just a real passive activity for them. And, it kind of really hit me that, like I said, God didn't say, he only said don't worry about it. He didn't say just wait for it to come. So nowhere do I ever see in any of my reading in the Bible, do I ever see that he wants to just provide for us without without us being in part of the effort. I mean, the whole thing, anytime that he brought brought humans into the world, he never once said, even in the garden, even when things were just starting, he never once said, okay, just, don't worry about it. In fact, he said, work the garden. And he said, yeah, we will eat by our toils, that, it's not going to be as easy as it was in the garden. But again, in the garden, he never told us not to work. So, for what that's worth, I just thought it was kind of interesting. So, like with this painting isn't going to just throw it together. I've got to work at it. Okay, now I'm going to develop a blue wash here. I think this guy looks a little more put together. If this doesn't work like I want, then I'm just going to redo the whole thing with thicker paint. So, actually, I need a bigger brush. Do because of how everything is, you just rolling a paper towel roll over it ain't gonna work, I don't think. Actually, it might. And I can just wipe off what I don't like, right? Or where I don't want it. There's a technique I have not tried. Actually, no, I have to some extent, just not with. Let me see something here. So effort is just one experiment after another. And I can decide if I just want to make the whole sky just blue. Okay. That. Yeah, I think I've decided. That's really not going to work for me. So. Shouldn't worry so much about this because the rest is pretty, it's not exactly what we'd call realistic, right? And the hard part about, if you're looking for a tutorial how to make a specific painting look a certain way, this one is not gonna be it. Because I could not redo this scene, even if, no matter how hard I tried, it would not happen a second time. Every time I do something, and it's only been a few different types of paintings I have been able to duplicate. And I can tell you with a whole lot of assurance this would not be one of them. Okay. But the technique to get a sky going, this is one of the ways. Now what's nice is because what's under the paint, even though that a lot of it's going to be covered, because one area was darker than another. Not the same. Okay, since here. A little trouble here with this. I'll wipe off what goes into the mountains that I don't want. I did not want. One thing I have learned, one technique I have learned to get a sky looking nice is to do more of that crisscrossing. And then just swipe across it. Okay. Make sure it doesn't get too muddy in here. All right, now then, I think I'm pretty happy with the sky. I'm gonna make this just a little darker up on top. And one thing I have figured out, even though, I've been painting skies and sunsets and stuff, and it wasn't until I saw, and his name is Paint with Josh. I think I've talked about him before. Wasn't until I saw how he did the skies by putting black underneath areas where he wanted it darker. That made a big difference in how a sky actually looks like a sky is supposed to look. So you can add a little bit. So there is every chance that this painting will not look like it did when I started. And more than once I've noticed that that's actually better. Okay, so back to the paper towels. I want to see if I can get some of that off the mountains. If nothing else, one thing this painting today should teach you is how to not overdo and just to the point where you actually ruin what you got started with. Sometimes a little fix does a whole lot more than just being very adamant about your fix. Okay, now what I want to do is just with some of this white. More definition here. Now I have heard, and I have yet to get it, a masking, tape, a masking fluid. I can't remember the name of it. I will let you know at another video. What I could have done is paint that over the mountains where I want the mountains defined. Which means I wouldn't have to be doing this part so much, but also I'm not so sure, kind of like how this is turning out. A ski resort, huh? I was in high school. I skied several times in Colorado, but the one that was like the big momentous occasion was going to Steamboat Springs with Campus Life, a church group through the high schools. And we went to Steamboat Springs, and man, I tell you, that place is huge and it's beautiful. As much as I would like to have that exhilaration of skiing again, I kind of don't see myself doing it. But alrighty, so I'm pretty happy with. Now what I want to do is, because we got all these green areas, and I want to just emphasize those for our trees. So I'm just going to come back in here. And give it a little more textured look. I do remember there was all those areas, even in the middle of winter, there were all these evergreens, obviously evergreens since in the name, right? Growing along the side. At the time I went, we had a foreign exchange student from Sweden, and she went out skiing with me. Yeah, you could tell she was from someplace that had a lot more mountains than northern Indiana, where I'm originally from. Yeah, she pretty much was able to just tear off. Okay, this shouldn't take too much longer. If you're still hanging out, I sure appreciate you hanging out here with me. As you see the creative process, I can take, this is the kind of painting, and I think I've said it before, if you need work on being able to just see things or changing it up, fluid art, and then just kind of look for patterns in it. It's just a lot of fun seeing kind of where the paint leads you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, there are times, like I told you, to get to this point, I just had to finally scrape off me trying to overfix. But again, it just kind of really turned out cool that almost the same pattern ended up showing up when I re-poured and did a spin out. So yeah, I'm going to be doing another spin out because now I bought a couple of bigger canvases so I can do it, because I've got some other smaller canvases. So I'm going to be working on perfecting that, because that's just a lot of fun to me. And these are the ones, and you can say, don't blame God. But these are sometimes with some of these that turn out just super cool. I'm like, God painted this one, because I would not have come up with this in my own imagination. Put the darker part down first. I think you've heard me say that before. When I learned that, it made a big difference in how things turned out. If you put the darker color down first, I could get each spot. Definitely, a little more green here. in there now. So right in the mix. I do know the last time I drove up through Colorado, Big Thompson Canyon, and it had snowed before I got there a little bit ago, but it's like all the trees were, it looked like somebody took powdered sugars through a sifter and just sprinkled it over all the trees. And it was just so, so gorgeous. It took my breath away. Alrighty. I think I'm about done. No idea what that is there. Shoot. All right. Let me just cover that up with a little blue here. Nice camouflage it some. Paint rolled up there and I have no idea how that happened. Okay, so the colors on this were titanium white. I think it was Mars Black. Double check. Yes, Mars Black, medium magenta, and one of my new favorite colors, Phthalocyanin green. And these were pretty much all, yep, they're all basic acrylic Liquitex. So I think, all right. One last thing I want to do through here. And just kind of come down through here. Like that. Get the shade. Megan Trainor's song, I think, had it. It's all about that base. You want that shade in there because it gives it, grounds it. When you don't have shade, it just, things look like they're just floating above space. Alrighty. Well, that sky went through a variety of thought processes, but I think I'm pretty happy with it. So here we are. And like I said, let me know. Let me know what you think. And let me know if you try anything like this. And have fun. And God bless you. Bye.